Rusame reader, Kurosong, and today I will be reading to you from Stars and Moonflowers in Our Garden by Rainbow Star _ 772. That's me! Now, on to Chapter 31, Invitations and Good Guesses. Russia looked at the note in his hand. He had honestly not been expecting that. He didn't expect the healer to give him that. But he supposed it came with him having gone to America for trouble relaxing twice. Even though he'd only genuinely been having trouble one of those times. America had basically given him an invitation to visit him for comfort, which, you have to admit, was pretty tempting to him. He really didn't want to overuse it or make America regret giving him that. He realized he should close the door to his room and head to bed. He let out a small chuckle as he closed the door quietly and gently. He walked over to his window, taking one last look out, spotting America going past it on the ground. He smiled a bit as he walked over to his bed and got in, pulling the blanket over himself. He shifted around for a bit, getting himself comfortable. Eventually, sleep overtook him. He didn't even notice. He whined a little as he opened his eyes and looked over. America wasn't by his side. Damn it, that was a nice dream. He grumbled to himself as he reached into the drawer and pulled out his little dream journal. Really, all it contained was 2 dreams he'd had about himself and America, and he was about to add a third. He got out of bed and grabbed his quill, going over to his desk. He set the journal down, uncapped his inkwell, dipped the quill inside, and began to write about the dream. In this one, he'd confessed to America about being Neeks, then they'd gotten closer and closer, eventually deciding to be in a relationship. They'd gone on dates, he'd been able to hold America, they'd cuddled in his bed, and then eventually they got married and, well, consummated their marriage. Then they'd gone to bed together, and then he woke up. He was so damn mad that was a dream, and that he'd woken up from it. He was grumpy as he continued to write every little detail he remembered from the dream. Once he was done, he capped his inkwell and put his quill away. He waited for the rest of the ink to dry before he closed the journal and returned it to its hiding spot. Then he joined his family for breakfast, which was fairly quiet, which, even though usual, was nice, especially considering the type of dream he'd had, the great annoyance and disappointment he'd felt when it ended. It felt like waking up and learning that it was just a dream had emotionally wrecked him. But at least he might be able to seek out America for comfort. Maybe not seek him out for comfort, as America's presence was comfort enough. Once breakfast was over, he excused himself, trying to figure out how he should spend his free day. First, he decided that he should check the flowers to see if there was a response from America. He'd heard someone wandering around near the little healer's office, so he might be in luck. He might just find a response. Though it was also very possible America was in his office and still working on a response. But there was no other way to know than to check. So he made his way out of the castle and over to the patch of chamomile flowers. When he spotted an envelope in the flowers, he excitedly grabbed it, being careful to not harm any of the flowers when he did. Once he had it, he made his way back to his room, opening the letter while he walked. Then he began to read it, still making his way back to his room. Dear Neeks, ding ding ding, we have a winner. I'm a shifter. You still have some guessing to do. I'll tell you when you get the right area. Feel free to ask questions to make it easier. Also, is that a Malfour? I love those. The one you used is one of my favorites. Also, thank you. I may not like Argentina, but I don't want anyone hurt. Speaking of her, she got me last night before I picked up your letter. I had to get away as fast as I could. I was able to hide from her until she left. I can handle myself around people I find attractive during my office hours, because I can use my professional attitude to overcome it. And I'm glad to hear you've never considered tucking. Also, please give Natalie some pets for me in the meantime. As for Drow, they're an offshoot of elves. They're colloquially known as dark elves. So, technically, you just guessed elf twice. Also, I'm probably going to hug you the first time I see you, if that's okay with you. I don't want to make you uncomfortable. Sincerely, Aku. Russia added a bit of pep to his step after reading the first line. Very excited. Now, all that was left was to figure out what type of shifter America was. He smiled to himself as he continued to read and walk. He was glad that he was earning more of America's favor as Neeks, though he still wasn't sure of what to do with Argentina. He needed to figure out how to deal with her. He held far more disdain for her now than ever. He hated to see her hurt America the way she did. Once he got to his room, he found his cat and pet him a bit, as America had asked. After that, he took out some paper and began to write his response. Once he was done writing his response, he put it in the prepared envelope, then carefully sealed it. Then he left his room and walked over to the flowers below his window. He moved the letter into the chamomile patch carefully. Once the letter was in the flowers, he excitedly made his way to America's office. The letter and his writing of a response had made him mostly forget about the dream that he'd had and the disappointment he'd felt upon realizing it wasn't real. As he got closer to the office, he listened for America's voice, or something to indicate that America was there. He knew he was probably there already, especially considering the letter was already hidden among the camomiles. He moved closer to the office and attempted to quietly open the door, only to find that he'd failed, seeing as America was already looking in his direction. "Good morning, Russia," the healer greeted with a wave. And that's the end of this chapter. I hope you enjoyed. Anyway, I'd like to invite you to join the Discord, which is linked down in the description below. That being said, I hope you have a nice rest of your day, night, or whatever it is for you. Just enjoy your time. And I will see you tomorrow.